It's time for the upper bracket here in the final qualifier cup of the year at the Arena World Championship. Our next series is going to be the boys playing up against Method Orange, and there's a lot on the line here. So if Method Orange wins, they 100% lock themselves in for the summer finals, eliminating any chance that Peekaboo and the Move can qualify. And moreover, there's seeding on the line here, because currently Method Orange will play against Method Black in their first series. They're only 20 points behind the boys though, so winning this would be huge strides towards getting that third place spot.
Yeah, because they swing the boys as well from getting those 20 points, and they get themselves those 20 points. So they would be able to tie themselves up in that situation and put themselves in a good situation moving forward. And like you said, it's all about the seeding. If you're fourth in North America, you face #1 in Europe. If you're fourth in Europe, you face #1 in America. And those are, the main teams that you really don't want to go against. Cloud9 winning the last spring final, and with Method Black as well, just being on a tear throughout the year. So you definitely want to avoid those two teams.
Yeah, so the way it's playing out in Europe is we know Method Black is #1. We pretty much know that AWC is #2. And then 3 and 4 is going to come down to that first series on Championship Sunday tomorrow. It's going to be either Wildcard Gaming or Change My Mind. But quite frankly, Wildcard Gaming has had the better of that in the last couple of exchanges for these two teams. You definitely want to be in the top 2 for North America, I think. And look how close it is. M2KC, the boys, and Method Orange, all within 40 points of each other. So in terms of seeding, anything could happen in this final cup. I think getting that #2 seed is very important for all of these teams.
No, I mean, it definitely is. My question to you is, what seeding do you want as a European? What are the scary teams to go into?
I actually don't know. This is the thing. So when it comes to Europe, I think Method Black is by far the scariest team you can play against, because you just got to prepare for anything, right? Whereas AWC, Wildcard Gaming, and Change My Mind have all been... I mean, Wildcard's definitely a scary one, but I mean, Change My Mind and AWC have been running 1 or 2 compositions, right? In North America, it actually really depends on the meta. Maybe I'd like to play against M2KC because they're only playing a couple of comps as well, but teams like Cloud9, Method Orange, the boys, like, they have so much veteran experience on their team, and they have a lot of compositions. It's scary, Sid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any team in particular that you would want, especially because North America's meta is starting to evolve with the Windwalker Death Knight. We also saw Looney's team adopting that strategy. If Looney's team yesterday had been playing that the whole series,
they might have won.
Yeah. So if the Windwalker Death Knight evolves to actually be kind of like the superior fish just eating the RMD now, and then we have to figure out what's the next answer for that in the chain of events. I think that you don't really know exactly who you want, because the meta is going to evolve and it's going to change. Maybe if you just look off tournament consistency, or maybe limitations on healers, maybe you'd want to get M2KC just because they know, only Rubcub is running that paladin for right now. If you're really trying to like pinpoint an exact weakness on the teams, the rest of the North American teams are branching out onto at least 2 healers and sometimes 3. So the only team I would feel maybe confident, which is still not 100% because M2KC can just all in you.
Yeah.
And they came second last year at the spring finals with that aggressive strategy. So the regions are more evenly matched than ever is basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, it's so weird, right? Because I remember back when, we were competing a couple of years ago, we were saying that Europe was pretty dominant. The European teams were just trying so hard and like really pushing through. But now Method Black has kind of been the top tier of Europe, and everyone else has fallen below them. Wildcard Gaming definitely having a disappointing season, I think. Mario tweeted out yesterday saying, we've qualified, we're happy about that, but honestly, we're not happy with the season at all. Maybe they'll catch fire by the summer finals, maybe a couple of meta shifts could assist them, but here, Method Orange, they're looking to guarantee themselves qualification, looking to overtake the boys in seeding. Let's see if they can do it as we hop into the Grand.
Yeah, let's see what we can get done. This is an interesting matchup. The boys are actually going to be locking in the Arms Warrior Windwalker Monk. An interesting cleave here, and I don't think this is necessarily a bad answer. I think the Arms Warrior can work really well into both the Windwalker Monk and the Death Knight. Both teams locking in a Restoration Druid, so Sea-Doo, I don't know if this is something that Method Orange actually anticipated. Normally you'd see Sea-Doo lock in the Holy Paladin against the boys, as that's what really worked for them last week. However, the boys right now with this composition, it's looking pretty good. The Arms Warrior is going to be able to put in a lot of cleave damage. The one problem is it doesn't have a lot of self-healing, but if he can stay alive, if both Chun-Li and Gorecki can continue the heals onto Smexen in the matchup, and he can get that Arms Warrior damage out, it's going to be super effective into the composition Method Orange is running. And I mean, if anyone knows how to sort of exploit a Windwalker Death Knight Restoration Druid, I feel like it would be the boys. This is a composition they've been running literally the entire year. Pressure so far feels like it's in favor of the boys, and we'll see what they can get done.
All right, let's see what they can get done. I'm glad that they've adopted a new strategy to try and catch Method Orange off guard, having gone down last week to the Paladin Windwalker Death Knight. But Method Orange have somehow anticipated it, or perhaps Method Orange have realized after watching Wildcard Gaming in Europe that the Druid version is still the superior version. So Sea-Doo is going to be running the Restoration Druid over the Paladin. It's so interesting to watch the meta bounce between the regions. We thought for a long time that Rogue Mage Druid was unbeatable. Method Orange found a strategy and a composition that beats it, and then we saw a team in Europe take that composition to another level, and now Method Orange copying them. Strategies have been bouncing back and forth, and the teams are so close within the regions that when we actually get to the summer finals, I'm not sure it's so cut and dry as to who is going to take it. I mean, for the longest time, I would have said we're probably going to see Rogue Mage versus Rogue Mage Grand Final, and probably the third place team is going to be a European Rogue Mage, or maybe even Cloud9, and it could be a predictable outcome. But the way that the strategies have been adapted between the regions, I'm not sure. We might get to the summer finals, and who knows? Affliction Warlock is in the meta. It seems that anything can really happen at this point.
I wouldn't.
I'm trying to I'm getting hopes up for Jafar, okay?
Oh, he's already out. There's no way he's going to be making it to the summer finals. I'm sorry, Sid, to ruin your dreams and his, but Affliction Warlock could come in. You really never know what is going to happen. I mean, there's still a couple of months until that happens. Right now, Chun-Li and Smexen, there's not been much pressure here in favor of Method Orange. I mean, right now, Trill, he's in trouble. He trades out the Touch of Karma on Smexen. Chun-Li and Smexen are all over Trill. It can be really difficult in those moments where you feel like you're okay as a Windwalker Monk. You've got your Expel Harm to keep yourself up. If you have a Sharpened Blade on you, you fall behind quite quickly, and it's difficult to get counter pressure on an Arms Warrior as well. In defensive stance with plate armor, you don't really put out that much damage as a Windwalker Monk. So I think that's what the boys are going for here. Just all-out aggression, a composition that's really durable into Windwalker Death Knight. And we'll have to see how it plays out. Stormbolt on Sea-Doo. Chun-Li kind of soloing him down right now. This is such good pressure and momentum for the boys. Game number one's looking good.
Trill going to save him with the double leg sweep. Good teamwork from Trill. Mez trying to stop Gorecki from drinking, sniping him with the Death and Decay around the corner, but then walking into a double leg sweep. Chun-Li catching him right as he comes back into the fight. Lichborn going to trade for Mez. He's using that more so to just break out of the stun and get uptime, but it is his defensive cooldown. He's traded that to be aggressive. Perhaps he's weighed that on the Unholy Death Knight he can get away with an exchange like this. Before dampening, it would be more beneficial to maximize his damage, but now that he doesn't have Lichborn for 39 seconds there, the number below his frame, he could be a target for the boys. Trill stunned up by Smexen. Big damage incoming. Going to be proccing that Gladiator Safeguard immediately on that push. Trill looking to retreat away and avoid some damage. Sea-Doo repositioned to midfield. I'm curious if Sea-Doo is going to just post up defensively or eventually move in for some Bash Cyclones. Looks like he's going to be trying to drink. Who's going to stop Sea-Doo from drinking? Gorecki looks like he wants to be the one on point, stealthing in, sniping Sea-Doo with the Ursul's Vortex, keeping him in combat, jumping in and now crowd controlling him with Bash. Trill going to retreat away, but Mez is exposed. He used that Lichborn earlier, potentially going to cost him here, 1 second away from it. Big heals from Sea-Doo though, going to save the day. Now Method Orange look to counter engage.
Yeah, but who are they going after? I feel like it's really difficult for Method Orange. They have to go after Chun-Li. We know he's really good at surviving. Trill actually almost going down. Got caught into a Stormbolt. He had no trinket. He almost fell. He was in execute range. That was such a close call. Now a big swap over onto Sea-Doo. The boys are unrelenting in their pressure. Method Orange really struggling to find pressure at this moment in the game. Maybe they have to switch targets and go after Gorecki, because I feel like if Chun-Li is the only vulnerable target, it is really difficult to take down a slippery Windwalker Monk when you have an Arms Warrior backing you up especially. We'll see though, as dampening gets higher and higher, that might start favoring Method Orange with the Death Knight, with the Necrotic Strike a little bit more. But if dampening gets too high, then all of a sudden Mez could easily fall to an Arms Warrior with Sharpened Blade.
Trill the target here still for the boys. They got significant mana advantages, significant momentum as well. Touch of Death active. Chun-Li going to get a big hit here. How's Trill going to deal with it? He ports back around the corner. Touch of Death ticks. Sea-Doo needs to pick him up in a hurry. Ring of Peace from Trill is protecting him for now. But Chun-Li's actually going after Sea-Doo, pinning him in bear so he can't fully recover and getting pressure on two targets while Smexen chops up Mez. Good coordination there from the boys. They got pressure onto 3 targets now, just as dampening begins.
Chun-Li going to be moving over, trying to continue the damage over onto Mez. Both Windwalker Monks sort of dancing around each other, trying to avoid Fists of Fury. In this type of matchup, it's all about avoiding leg sweeps, avoiding Fists of Fury. As I say that, Trill and Mez, they walk into a double. Chun-Li portals away. That's a really interesting transcendence. I feel like that was a big misplay there by Chun-Li. He managed to land the double sweep. I don't know if he was anticipating Trill trinketing into a leg sweep, but he got the stuns and then he just poured it away and didn't get any damage rolling. So uncharacteristic mistake there by Chun-Li. Sea-Doo getting pressured down just a little bit right now. His mana's not looking good. The boys, they've had most of the pressure, most of the momentum. Now Gorecki with a mana lead. Sea-Doo's going to have to try to sneak away for a drink at some point in the match. Touch of death attempt here onto Gorecki. He respects it, trades out his trinket, trades out his bark skin, but he could still be in a little bit of trouble.
We'll see if Method Orange can close it out here. They're desperate. They're very far behind on mana, so they're going to go after Gorecki, try and zug down the healer for a quick kill. Let's see if Gorecki panics under the pressure here, dampening a minute and a half in, almost 10% healing reduction. Touch of Karma used by Trill. He is going all out to kill Gorecki. Gorecki grip back in, retreating the opposite direction of Trill, looking to escape. Trill forced to switch targets, going for Fists of Fury on Smexon and Chun-Li, creating pressure across the board. Sea-Doo needs to drink at this point. He is too far behind on mana, but the question comes, will he be able to? Mez under fire, going to use Lichborn to reduce some of the pressure on himself and alleviate some of the work that Sea-Doo is going to have to do soon. This Windwalker Arms Warrior, it is looking brutal for Method Orange in game one.
It is really difficult to get anything rolling, but now Gorecki, he's in some trouble. He's got no trinket. He activates the bark skin. He has to get away. Sea-Doo, is he going to be able to slow him down? Right now, Trill in hot pursuit. Chun-Li looking to back him up with the Fists of Fury. That Turbo Fist going to be snaring Trill up, making it really difficult, and Gorecki actually manages to stabilize Trill in the meantime. He's in execute range, dancing with death, but Smexon leaps over and closes it out. And what's really funny about this matchup, and this is a matchup I actually lost to Adrian yesterday, healing stat, and it seems really hard as the Windwalker Death Knight to actually take down a target. The only one that really seems like they can die is the Restoration Druid or the Windwalker Monk, but if they play really safe, it's really hard to get damage out.
Yeah, I must admit, when I was playing against you guys yesterday, I was Feral Affinity, full damage gear, just like chilling. But I mean, yeah. I actually feel like this matchup is favored towards the Windwalker Fury as well, or the Windwalker Arms here, because, you know, Mortal Strike is just such a powerful effect with the Sharpened Blade, puts the Druid behind, you can get the uncharacteristic kills, and Windwalkers, the way they kite, Charged On is like the perfect counter to it. You can actually land kills on the Windwalker, and this is a really smart pick from the boys.
Yeah, I really like it, and I also like that. I mean, Method Orange, whenever they picked Mage Windwalker, Resto Druid into this, I feel like they always lost. Well, into what the boys usually run, like the Windwalker DK. I feel like they always lost. So I feel like the boys with this blind pick are kind of disrespecting that by saying, well, we know you're not going to play Sam here, so we're going to just go ahead and pick, you know, a warrior comp, despite them having a Frost Mage on the roster. So they kind of read into Method Orange's blind pick pretty well, and it pays off. I mean, the Arms Warrior of Smexon, it's his main, so it's nice to see him back on it, and he's just able to do so much more pressure than a DK, and the DK also just dies later on in the game, even if they don't kill Trill here.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about this composition. The boys, early game, it doesn't look too bad for them. Late game, it's going to look even better for them. I think for the Windwalker Death Knight, the one thing that they have, the saving grace, is the Death Knight denies the drinks from the Dread. Because when we played that game yesterday, you guys were winning on mana, but that was the only way that you can actually win the game, right? Like maybe in deep dampening. It would be curious to see this matchup play out a little bit more to see who actually who is favored, because based on one game, it is difficult to say, but I think there's a good chance we're not going to see that because Method Orange have so many picks with the Mage that they could bring out.
Yeah, it might be forced into a situation when they blind pick the Windwalker Death Knight, and then, of course, the boys winning game number one will be able to counter them. I mean, that would be the only thing I see. But Method Orange, they're going to be... I don't know where they're going to go. I expect them to lock in a large map, and then for the boys, I think it's pretty safe for them to run Windwalker Death Knight if they really wanted to. At worst, it, I guess, comes down to maybe a mirror match against a Paladin. But it seemed like that was a matchup they could win. Maybe they're not necessarily advantaged, but... yeah, it'll be interesting to see what these teams lock in blind and what map we're really going to be going to, because I feel like that's going to tell the tale more than anything.
I feel like this was a critical loss for Method Orange, losing the blind pick in this team specifically, because each team has an answer. I expect like Windwalker Mage maybe to beat the Arms Warrior Windwalker. So Method Orange are... I mean, they're looking pretty likely, based off losing the blind pick, to go down to lower bracket. And they fight the move, I think, right?
Nah, they fight get your
And if they win that series, they qualify, right?
So it's still looking pretty good.
Yeah. If you're the move right now, you're just praying Method Orange lose, Method Orange lose.
One step at a time, right?
Yeah. But this is one step at least for the move. They're sitting there praying that the Method Orange basically lose their next 2 series and that they can somehow get first place. The boys are more confident with their Windwalker Arms Warrior than going with their Death Knight Windwalker Blind, which is interesting. This is where we anticipate to see Method Orange lock in Samayam.
Yeah, I mean, I really like this blind pick. When I play it on the live ladder, I play this composition quite a bit with Joe Fernandez, and the only thing that's beating us reliably is Rogue Mage, right? And I mean, Method Orange, they could bring out Rogue Mage with Trill. I know they've been practicing it. They're currently 2400-ish on the live ladder with that composition. It would be very interesting if Method Orange actually do lock in the Rogue Mage, because I'm not convinced that Mage Windwalker has the easiest matchup into this either. These classes are designed to be able to get some uptime on a Mage, and we know that Chun-Li has been running that Serenity build that the Windwalkers have been playing more and more. It does help them to catch the Mages.
I think Windwalker Mage should win that. I mean, if it was a Fury Warrior, maybe not, but even then, I think if you do a good job kiting as the Frost Mage and you don't like push in, go for, offensive shimmers, I think you should be able to hold on. And I know that Sam is good enough to do that, so
yep.
I would expect the Windwalker Mage Druid to get locked in here. If they pick Pali, I can see the boys kind of just going after the Pali and maybe being able to get a win that way. So I'm not sure. But if they don't pick Sam here, I don't know what they would pick. And on the Rogue Mage front, I would have liked to see it blind if they were going to lock it in.
That's true.
I would have loved to see it blind because it beats Thug and it beats Thugonomics, that is not Thug Cleave, and it also
although it probably beats Thug Cleave as well.
Well, yeah, it probably beats. Let's be real, it beats everything that the boys have.
Yeah, I mean, I actually
Yeah.
think Rogue Mage, like we did see Warwick playing a little bit yesterday. I actually sometimes think that the Destruction Warlock has a higher chance than some of these Cleave comps just because it does take so long for the Rogue Mage to kill the Destruction Warlock, and obviously Chaos Bolt is a super scary ability. If the team does mess up, you can get it, but they are going to go over to that Windwalker Mage Paladin. I'm really curious how this one's going to go. The Arms Warrior is going to be... Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like, the Arms Warrior could be a weakness, but I actually think Greki will win mana in the late game against the Paladin. So the pressure is on Method Orange to get a kill.
Yeah, we'll see. I feel like Method Orange Samayam, especially with Blessing of Freedom, it's going to be hard for Chun-Li and Smexen to take him down. The one win condition, like you kind of talked about, with Sidu going out of mana, but maybe if he's really conservative and just really fishes for the Vision of Perfection procs, and you can top off Samayam and Trill really, really quickly. I feel like in terms of durability, having 2 Blessing of Protections, 2 Blessing of Freedoms, the boys are going to struggle to take someone down. I mean, they could possibly go after Sidu, but Samayam and Trill backing him up. I feel like this is a really durable composition Method Orange brought in. Might be difficult for them to actually land a kill, but we'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, that is one of the things that I forget. Like when I'm judging a lot of these games on like the live ladder, right? And for my Paladin, at least I only have a rank 1 Vision of Perfection. These guys, of course, have rank 3 on the tournament server, so they have better mana, right, and stuff like that. It does help a lot.
Rank 1.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. For shame.
Yeah.
Paladin's like my 3rd character, to be fair.
Yep.
Well, I feel like a druid can just drink.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
Why would
what
they
I
pick
think
this
too.
now?
Well, this map would be great if they picked druid, but they didn't. So I feel like Goreki can just safely at any point he wants go and drink. And who do you have to stop that? You don't have a Resto Druid. You can just run across in 1 second. You have a Windwalker. He's going to use all of his mobility to get there and stop the drink. I mean, I guess you can use like Ring of Peace or like Frozen Orb, but all of those are like kind of abilities that you want to use like to actually fight. So I feel like they can't stop the drinks, of course, but eventually it's going to be a drink where you don't have the Frozen Orb and the boys might have pressure and there's nothing you can do about it, where normally you would have a druid who's just like...
Yeah.
That's true. One of the really obnoxious things about playing a Windwalker Monk into an Arms Warrior that I don't really, favor Trill for is the fact that he can use Stormbolt. It's one of the only stuns in the game that actually just goes through your Turbo Fist. So you can use your Turbo Fist, Fist of Fury, parry all day long, but if he just chucks a big hammer at your head, that's going to be shut down. That denies a lot of your offense and defense, and if Smexen does a good job of that, I think Trill could really struggle and actually be kind of vulnerable in the matchup. Yeah,
I actually think Warriors are one of the best classes at killing Windwalkers because of the Stormbolt, because of just the Sharpened Blade off of that. Windwalkers are very reliant on their self-healing, so that is going to be something that we'll be watching. Bear in mind, of course, this is a counter pick from Method Orange. I still think, even though we're discussing Paladin versus Druid Zico, the matchup should still be in favor of Method Orange. So this is going to be a really good opportunity for Chun-Li to show himself. Like, 3 of us picked him as the MVP of the entire year. this is why, potentially, if the boys wins this one, it's going to be a lot off of his back, his kiting, his offense, and his counter pressure. So a good opportunity for Chun-Li to show himself or not, depending on how the game goes.
I feel like Chun-Li has been showing us why he's MVP all year long, but, you know, here is another
another opportunity, right?
Yeah, and we're going to see
One
Hammer
more.
of Justice into Gorecki. Sidu is playing the Blinding Light, so he's going to go ahead and use that extended crowd control chain. And that is one way that the Method Orange can definitely win the game here. If they can get a good CC chain like that, they can definitely win. Nice counter spell secured by Sam I Am. Beautiful stuff here from Method Orange so far in the match. That was the Serenity push. Sam I Am actually didn't even have to use his Temporal Shield, but now Gorecki, after he is out of crowd control, is looking to get some Bash Cyclones. Sidu used his every man for himself for Rachel to get out of that one, so that's not going to be available for another 3 minutes. And Gorecki is just going to keep looking for Cyclones. He's playing the Moonkin form as well, so the only real way for Method Orange to shut this down is with Trill's Paralyze or with Sam I Am's counterspell.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if he can do it. That was a really good early offensive push by Method Orange. When Sidu can push in for the Hammer of Justice, Blinding Light, that's going to be looking good for Method Orange. That's when Sam I Am can use that Kleptomania spell steal, and if they can drag the game deeper into dampening, I feel like Smexon's going to be a really difficult target for Gorecki to keep up. However, if Gorecki can always sneak away and get drinks, recover his mana, it won't be too bad for him to keep his team alive right now. Pressure in favor of the boys. Sam I Am getting a polymorph reflected by Smexon. Nicely done. Gorecki actually getting swapped to. This is massive damage. He's in so much trouble. Gorecki could easily fall. Barkskin, Ironbark trade out. He leaps away. He might be able to survive, but Sidu's still all over him. Trill as well. The offensive blessing protection onto Trill to free him up. They cannot believe that Gorecki did not fall in that situation. He's not out of it yet, but it's going to be difficult for Sam I Am to really help him out and get the damage rolling. I feel like Gorecki should be able to survive, but I guess the next Hammer of Justice coming in from Sidu could easily take Gorecki down.
Yeah, I feel like I can't believe that Gorecki actually still survived that setup there. That was such a clean setup with the Frozen Orb, with the Icy Veins, just all damage cooldowns. But Trill is not playing that Serenity. Maybe that is, you know, the added damage that they needed in that situation. However, I don't think they're going to be able to catch Gorecki in a situation like that anytime soon. Again, now Trill in, actually Sam I Am in a little bit of trouble here. Chun-Li activating his Serenity, doing a lot of damage here with that Fist of Fury. Trill as well, taking a lot of damage. Touch of Karma gets traded out here. Chun-Li now back over onto Sam I Am. Full Hammer of Justice onto Gorecki. No follow-up crowd control. And honestly, I'm not sure. Do you think Sidu should have just played Repentance in this build?
Yeah, it might have been good. It would have been an extra threat for Gorecki to really worry about. I mean, Sam I Am, we kind of know Frost Mages right now, they don't necessarily play super aggressive, especially against these double melee teams. They aren't using shimmers offensively for blinks. They're just trying to survive and sort of whittle down the mobility that Chun-Li and Smexon have and sort of playing for the long game. So maybe Sidu with Repentance could be a big threat, but I also don't mind the Blinding Light because if they can correctly set that up once again, get Gorecki's Trinket with the Blinding Light, and then when Trill has Touch of Death, they go all in on an attempt onto Gorecki. You can see how much Gorecki is struggling. We thought he'd be able to sneak away. We thought he'd be able to go for drinks more consistently in the matchup, but Sidu's been able to shut him down. The pressure from Method Orange has been unrelenting, and Gorecki is really struggling.
Yeah, definitely. Gorecki now caught up in a polymorph.
Touch of Death.
Touch of Death on Smexon. He diffuses the situation with the fear. Vivify's coming in, and beautiful Vivify's from Chun-Li is what keeps him alive in that situation. Die by the Sword was traded out in the midst of things here, though, but Gorecki really needs to try to top Smexon off somehow. I want to see Gorecki just Cyclone more, to be honest with you. He hasn't been going for basically any. Now Smexon in big trouble.
I think that's it. Smexon's low is caught in a stun. This composition looked a lot better than we thought it would really play out. I mean, Method Orange, they looked really durable in that matchup. They set up their win conditions really nicely with that Blinding Light, the Kleptomania spell seal. If Gorecki gets caught in any crowd control, Method Orange can just sort of ride that momentum, and that was a great pick.
Yeah, I mean, the game work looked really good. I actually really like the Blinding Light on the Paladin as well. Like Repentance, obviously, it's an interesting one. The Druid can shapeshift it, but maybe you can get it off. But Blind's just a guaranteed crowd control, right? It's on a 90-second cooldown. It was actually what secured them the game as well. Like, if they can get to Gorecki, they stun him, they blind him. He used his Trinket on that every single time he could. At the end, it was also the blind that won them the game. So I think it's a really cool talent choice coming in from Sidu there. We actually saw, when we were watching the China Cup, a lot of the Chinese Paladins were running it as well. And it just adds an extra layer of crowd control, one which was able to enable them to win the game.
Yeah, but I definitely worked out for them. It is a good talent to have, but also Sam being able to land that polymorph out of the paralyze definitely helped them out. I just don't understand what build is Trill running. How is Smexin consistently at 50% HP or less before we even set foot into dampening it? Oh, Chun-Li with a rare mistake there with that Ring of Peace as well, could barely connect that one. And Gorecki didn't have a trinket here. This was a touch of death. I mean, Smexin honestly should have just died here, but Gladiator safeguard and Chun-Li just doing such a good job kind of diffusing that situation with the Vivifies. They allowed Smexin to stay alive, but he's just taken so much damage from Trill. I don't know. I think Trill is just pumping this game. Smexin is so low.
He's playing Tiger Eye Brew.
Yeah.
If he knows he's going after the Arms Warrior, it just shreds through, like I kind of talked about in game number 1. Normally, as a Windwalker Monk, you don't do anything to a Warrior. The plate armor is just so high, you don't have a lot of, armor penetration unless you run Tiger Eye Brew, and then you have pure armor penetration. You can do a lot of damage. So Trill, Method Orange, they knew exactly what they were going for in that game, and it worked out really well for them.
Yeah, I think it's smart. Like, the Arms Warrior brings a lot of offense with the Sharpened Blade and stuff like that, but on the flip side, he has no self-healing, right? So that is a weakness that you can expose. Most melees do, they heal themselves much more than the Arms Warrior does. Ultimately, series tied 1-1. Method Orange with a good counter pick here. Let's see how the boys react in Game 3. The boys and Method Orange have gone back and forth throughout this season in the Summer Cups. Now we're at a series where it is tied 1-1, Method Orange with the counter pick. I think this is something that I'm very interested in as well, Zico. When they play the Mage and the Druid, we've seen them have uncharacteristic losses, but with the Mage and the Paladin, they do seem much more comfortable. I know Seadrew, when he talks about Seadrew, he always says that he's not the happiest playing on his Druid. He seems really comfortable on the Paladin, though.
Honestly, he's had good performances on his Druid, but yeah, it feels like it's not like the Mage Druid synergy isn't quite as good as some of the other Mage Druid teams that we see. But on the Paladin, it looks really good. I mean, yeah. There's essentially a little bit less things to coordinate like that, but it just feels like he's very comfortable on his Paladin, and with Sam you have such an easy time, kiting around with the freedoms, and they play it out well with the Paladin.
So this is very interesting. Trill's actually coming in on the Demon Hunter in this next game, so they're not blind locking the Paladin Mage, which I would be very curious to see what they're scared of from the boys, but the Demon Hunter suggests to me they're really scared of that Arms Warrior Windwalker counter to their DK Windwalker.
I would have actually liked to see Method Orange just lock it. What did they lose to last week?
What are they scared of with Windwalker Mage Pally?
Because that comp seems pretty good and everything. I mean, the Destruction Warlock could be a little bit annoying, but I still feel like you could drag the game out for a long period of time and
you can dampen that.
Yeah. We've done it.
Yeah, you guys play a lot of Arcane Windwalker, right? So maybe there's something there. I'm very curious. I think if they lose this one, there's a good chance they'd lock that in Game 5.
I would want to see it, honestly. I feel like that game looked really good, and they looked really good on the comp as well, so I want to see it more.
Well, anyways, this is Game 3. This is the Advantage boys. As Trill comes in on the Demon Hunter Super Tease, what do we think is the strategy for Method Orange? Like, why are they bringing in the Demon Hunter here in the third game?
I mean, you bring a Demon Hunter in for one reason: Mana Rift. I don't think there is any other strategy that you're bringing a Demon Hunter into the 3 versus 3 arena for. So Trill likely going to be trying to jump on Gorecki as much as possible in landing these Mana Rifts and banking on an early win based on mana. But this is a strategy that we saw sort of nullified by the new essences. The Ever-Rising Tide and the Lucid Dreams essence in particular allows the healers to regenerate a significant amount of mana that counteracts the Mana Rift strategy that the Demon Hunter is employed for, which is why we saw the Death Knight Demon Hunter fall out of fashion. As long as Gorecki remembered to change his essences around and focuses on mana regeneration, certainly the Windwalker is going to generate more pressure on the Death Knight Mez than Trill will as the Demon Hunter on the Death Knight Smexin. I'm not a fan of this pick from Method Orange.
Yeah, I'm just double-checking the gear that Gorecki's running. He's going full haste mastery, so maximum healing, and he is running all all of those mana regeneration essences, so he is pretty well set up to deal with Trill on the Demon Hunter in that one kind of win condition, going for the win on mana. He's also got a big map for himself here, so he's got a lot of space to kite. You can see Chains of Ice on Trill. He has no real way of breaking out of those. Meanwhile, Gorecki, he's a druid, so he can shift out of slows and kite away in these situations. So it's going to be very interesting to see whether Trill is going to do a good job with those mana rifts. He's got Gorecki down a little bit here. I think the bigger question for the boys, though, is how do they actually land the kill? I think attacking Sea-Doo is smart. The Death Knight does a fair portion of magic damage. May well be able to break through the Bear Form from Sea-Doo on the druid.
I don't think that we're going to see Sea-Doo really be too much of a target. I mean, maybe early on, just try and bait some cooldowns. Maybe if he makes a mistake, but I feel like it should be unlikely that we see him die. He gets into bear form, activates Barkskin. Really? This is an insane amount of damage from the boys here. They're looking strong in game number 3. Sea-Doo barely holds on. Even with the Gladiator Safeguard's protection, he's just getting shredded. He's unable to escape. They still have cover of darkness. Trill still has that out if they absolutely need it, but they would like to not overlap it with all the defense that has been blown. Finally, Sea-Doo escapes, but Gorecki, he saw all of that pressure on Sea-Doo. He knew the other team was panic mode trying to save him and just sat down for a drink, regenerated back to full mana. And when we get deeper into dampening, a Windwalker is going to kill a Death Knight faster than a Demon Hunter is going to kill a Death Knight. And that's the basic formula for this matchup. Sea-Doo getting stunned up again. Trill gonna respect that stun, trade the darkness, allowing Sea-Doo a little bit of safety, but he needs to avoid damage. He's just tanking too much. Some support from Mez, some snares, some death grips. Sea-Doo needs to close the gap. He can't really afford to be in range of the boys this long.
I mean, I think it's a tough situation for Sea-Doo to his credit. I mean, you've got a Windwalker and a Death Knight tunneling you. He's definitely in a lot of trouble. He actually gets stunned on his trinket there. Disaster for Sea-Doo on the Druid as the boys win that one. Certainly more convincingly than I was expecting. Maybe the darkness from Trill didn't come out. They didn't expect him to die through the trinket there. Not a great situation. I mean, it wasn't a good game there, Sid.
That was definitely... I feel like Method Orange were just kind of fishing for a blind pick. They thought, well, this is a consistent comp in the past that we've run, so let's just try it again. But with the way that the game has evolved with those new essences, I don't think that the mana rift strategy works anymore. When the healer runs
didn't even get the chance to try, though.
Well, even
the way that one played out.
I mean, yeah. So if you lose early game, you can't run the other healer out of mana, and you lose late game based on pressure because the Windwalker brings in Mortal Wounds, and I would say a much higher single target burst, and the grapple weapon to remove Death Strike. The utility that the Windwalker brings in that matchup is just superior to that of the Demon Hunter, and Mana Rift is null and void with the new mana regeneration essences. So I don't think this is a composition that Method Orange should really even commit any time to. I think that they need to come up with a better blind pick than this. I would have liked to have just seen the Paladin Mage Windwalker, because we don't know if it does lose to something automatically that the boys have at their disposal. Now they're going to have to go into their blind pick likely for Game 5 with no prior knowledge.
Yeah, it definitely was tough as we see the final moments here.
Yeah, we see Sea-Doo, he did get the darkness there, and that was on the touch of death. And then here is the big stun combo. The Gorecki, I mean, his mana has been fine because of that drink he got earlier, but here's the double leg sweep. Sea-Doo uses the Barkskin a little bit late, trinkets in between the stuns there, and then gets re-stunned. So that's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, I just think it's a tough situation.
There, to be honest.
I think the Druid should live longer than that in the matchup, right? It was obviously just a mistake at the end there, getting stunned up on the trinket. Nice play from Gorecki. That's one of the reasons he was in contention. You know, we talk about Cubsy, Gorecki being the top Druids, and I mean, quite frankly, you don't expect Sea-Doo to be the top Druid, right? Like, this guy has been playing every other healer. He's forced himself to learn the Druid, and he's doing a good job on it. But here, exploited a little bit by the boys in Game 3. Now Method Orange, the onus is on them. They will have the counter pick going into Game 4, but Game 5, I don't think that was a safe blind pick.
I don't think so at all. I mean, I feel like they really should just focus on the Windwalker, Frostmage, Paladin. It seems like a really aggressive composition, especially with Sea-Doo playing the Blinding Light. You have a lot of potential to push in, get aggressive, especially if Gorecki is going to be playing the Restoration Druid. It seems like with the Kleptomania spell steal, with the little micro CCs you have, there's a lot of windows of opportunity, and I feel like even if they do play against Thugonomics on the Destruction Warlock, they still have a fair shot. I mean, if they can still live a long period of time until dampening, they can run the Tiger Eye Brew. Trill, once again, he can kind of shred through a lot of the defense that the Destruction Warlock has, and I feel like that would give them a good shot. I mean, maybe they're afraid of some composition we don't know about just yet, but I feel like that matchup with the Demon Hunter Death Knight is one we've seen the Demon Hunter Death Knight lose over and over and over. And I feel like at that point, you're kind of playing into the strength of the boys as well.
Yeah.
You're trying to win a matchup that you're not favored in against the main composition the boys.
Yeah, that's exactly what they want to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They just want to play Cleaves into Cleaves.
Yeah. Do you think that if the boys ran Demon Hunter DK into Windwalker Mage, that it would be a good matchup? Because I feel like maybe that's what they're afraid of.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either, to be honest. I'm just throwing it out there. But yeah, ultimately, I think Windwalker Mage is kind of the safe pick in general. Like, if you have a large map and you have Windwalker Mage, I feel like that's a pretty winning set recipe.
Is that or you mirror? You just blind lock Windwalker Death Knight yourself?
Yeah, but you won't.
But they play Arms Warrior. They play Arms Warrior into, yeah. Like game 1. I think the Arms Warrior pick is really smart. I really like it into the Windwalker Death Knight. I do think it's a slightly favored matchup, although it's with any of these Cleaves, right? It could go either way. Like the Demon Hunter Death Knight, I think at best it's a even matchup into Windwalker DK. The win condition's obvious, but there's definitely good opportunities for the Windwalker DK to win here. We're going to see the Robodrome, which is one of our favorite maps, so happy to see this one being locked in by Method Orange. This is a game they should be winning. Maybe they're kind of testing it on the smaller map to see what the boys blind, and then getting a bit more confidence in the Mage Windwalker for potential Game 5.
Yeah, I wonder what the boys do decide to lock in blind. They're going to be going with the Holy Paladin Windwalker Death Knight, so this is going to be a little bit... I feel like the Holy Paladin isn't nearly as susceptible to kleptomania and getting bullied by Sidu. He can kind of defend himself a little bit more by getting his own crowd control with the Hammer of Justice when Sidu pushes in. I kind of like it.
You know why I actually really like this pick? I think they know they're going to get counterpicked, right? So at best, they have like maybe 20-30% chance to win this next game. Paladins are a lot more volatile, you know? You might get that all-in kill on a Druid or on an enemy Paladin. It throws a little bit of ruckus, a little bit of hectic gameplay into this next match, and that could be something that uneven or unsettles Method Orange potentially.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see what they pick, but I like the Robodrome map. I think it's a cool map. It's a nice map, but is it a great map for a mage to go up against the melee cleave? I'm not sure about that, to be honest with you. It has large pillars, but you don't want that as a mage because that means everyone can line of sight your CC, and it's a small map, so you don't have many spaces to go to. So personally, I think this map is not the greatest for what Method Orange are going to be running, and we kind of expected them to run this too, so I would have rather seen something medium-sized on the side of Method Orange, but I think they're still favored in this matchup.
I feel like the boys are going to be looking to go after Sidu again.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Paladin's really good at killing other Paladins, right? Because the big thing that makes Paladin so annoying to kill as a melee cleave is the Blessing of Protection. Can't do that during the Hammer of Justice, so this is actually pretty smart. I still think we all agree that the matchup is favored towards Method Orange, but that was always going to happen. This is a counter pick. They have their composition pick knowing what the boys lock in. So the Paladin seems like it could potentially find some win slots for the boys.
Could throw a wrench into the Robodrome and the strategies of Method Orange, certainly. I like that the boys are experimenting. I also think that we don't know what the meta is just yet. If Windwalker Death Knight ends up being superior to Rogue Mage Druid then starts playing Windwalker Mage to beat Windwalker Death Knight, and then Arms Warriors beat Windwalker Death Knight. Now this is expanding.
A bit of a cycle, right?
This is expanding from just a triangle of rock, paper, scissors. It's like a pentagram of all these compositions that could be more well suited into each other. Maps can play big advantages. We saw Warrior Mage Druid able to overcome Rogue Mage Druid on Blade's Edge Arena. So you've got the map picks, the comp picks. It seems like the classes are diversifying more and more as we go through the summer season, and of course there's going to be some downtime in between this final cup and the summer finals, so that in potential changes. So you throw all of that together, I think it's important that the teams branch out a bit more than just what they're comfortable with.
Yeah, and that's something we saw in Europe a little bit. Obviously, Alec wasn't available yesterday for Daedalus, but they were able to branch out and they proved themselves on old compositions. Very important for the summer finals. We've got this tournament happening right now, guys, and then we're going to have 6 weeks of the Mythic Dungeon Invitational before we head into the summer finals. So there's about a 6-7 week gap whilst these players will be kind of preparing themselves for their chance at BlizzCon. Method Orange are not locked into BlizzCon right now. The boys are certainly one of the teams that could be helping them out. If the boys does well at the summer finals, Method Orange does go to BlizzCon, so these teams, they're kind of rivals in this situation, but at the same time, if the boys does well, it helps Method Orange. So they're both also sort of teammates. At the end of the day, the way the program's set up this year is that if North America does well, all of North America does well. If Europe does well, all of Europe does well. So it's very much encouraging the teams to kind of get together, but equally, the ultimate goal for everyone is just to win BlizzCon.
I mean, that's got to be the goal. And if you're going to win BlizzCon, you kind of have to get through everyone. But before you get there, it is nice to have the help.
It's tough right now.
Yeah. It is nice to have the help of your bannermen. And, I mean, the boys at this point, they've put themselves in a prime position. They're already qualified to make it to BlizzCon. For Method Orange, it's an uphill battle. I mean, they have to, I mean, they've already qualified for the summer finals, but they have to make sure they have a deep run in the summer finals or kind of rely on the boys. So Method Orange has set themselves up basically in the best situation you can be in without being qualified, which, I mean, obviously isn't that bad of a spot, but I feel like they need to start taking games, or they need to start taking series off the boys. Last week, they ended up beating them. If they can beat them again, that's the kind of momentum you really want moving into a tournament like the summer finals. I think Method Orange actually beat Cloud9 the last time they played with the Windwalker Death Knight Resto Shaman, so they're going to be feeling a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more confident in the fact that they actually are beating all these other top tier teams. This series here could be big for Method Orange. Yeah, it really could be. If they can win this one, they lock themselves in for the summer finals, obviously. It's nice to just have that mathematically locked in. And moreover, they will avoid Method Black most likely in the first round of the summer finals. And Method Orange, they have had inconsistent LAN performances, right? Like, yes, they won BlizzCon, but the other LANs, like all three of the other LANs that we've seen them at, they haven't performed. So getting off to a rough start by losing to Method Black, for example, which I think would be the odds would be in favor of Method Black given their performance, that isn't the start you'd want. You'd much rather have, you know, a team like Change My Mind, Wildcard Gaming as your first game that haven't performed so well in summer.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like if you're Method Orange and the boys, you're in a kind of a tough spot where you're gonna, no matter what, basically you're essentially gonna go against a Rogue Mage Druid, and sure, Method Orange is, Method Black is, you know, the best one at it. I still feel like it's gonna be a tough matchup regardless, just because of how it's been playing out here in North America. It feels like, well, when the boys face Rogue Mage Druid, they have to bring out the Thugbear. So if the meta stays the way it is, I think they're not going to be in a great spot facing any Rogue Mage Druid. And the same thing goes for Method Orange. So at least being able to avoid Method Black, it's a small victory at least.
You're trying to dodge your way into Wildcard Gaming or something. Yeah. It's like the one non-Rogue Mage team that Europe's sending.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to. And even Wildcard Gaming, it's not really a team that you want to face.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? All the teams that are going to be so good from both regions, so you don't really know who you would want to be going up against. Yeah, it's going to be a tough spot, but definitely want to dodge that fourth spot at all costs for both regions.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult, but first let's just see how this one goes. Method Orange, if they win this series, they would guarantee themselves for the summer finals. As we were saying, even though they haven't qualified for BlizzCon yet, they are in the best position out of all the teams that have not qualified. They are relying on either themselves or the boys getting a top 2 placing. Even if C9 placed, it wouldn't actually affect them. Potentially could even benefit them. So Method Orange looking good. Sea-Doo on the Holy Paladin has been a pick, but Goreki's looking to match him here in Game 4.
All right, let's see if Goreki on the Paladin, with all the bells and whistles, can be able to defeat Method Orange. If they can, they'll be able to secure likely the second seed. Method Orange would have to battle all the way back in the lower bracket for a second shot at them, or hope that they lose earlier on in the tournament.
Yep, so we will have to see that. Bear in mind as well, if you are a fan of the move, I know there's a few fans of the move in the chat right now, then you're certainly hoping the boys wins this, just so that their one chance at BlizzCon at the summer finals stays alive here. Sea-Doo is going to be the target early on. Unsurprising. Chun-Li on the flip side, he's taking a bit of damage, Fortifying Brew and the Diffuse Magic. Touch of Karma isn't a great defensive cooldown against the Paladin, as we see Sea-Doo going for that double blind. He's trying to get aggressive.
Sea-Doo is trying to get aggressive here onto Chun-Li. Major cooldowns already forced out. Significant lead for Method Orange. Sea-Doo on this Holy Paladin, and Method Orange as a whole have been bringing in a lot more aggressive strategy with the Paladin, very similarly to the Mew Mew Kitty Cats. I'm almost wondering if we ever get to a point where it is just an aggro Paladin meta. I can't wait to watch the Mew Mew Kitty Cats go against Cloud9 later today. That could certainly spell for an interesting series, although I've heard word that Snut's potentially not able to compete today. Chun-Li in trouble still. Goreeki has to exchange the Hand of Sacrifice to redirect damage to himself to keep Chun-Li alive, but every single attempt from Method Orange has been a significant and major cooldown forced from the boys. And if it keeps up at this pace, it's going to be over quickly for the boys.
Yeah, actually Snuts did tweet out that he wasn't going to be playing today, so that's obviously great news for M2KC. We'll be covering that series next, guys. It's going to be Cloud9 against M2KC in our upcomer. But first, we're finding out the team that will meet the winner of that at Championship Sunday. The boys currently 2-1 up, looking like they are in the lead in the series, but this game so far has been all Method Orange. Method Orange written all over it. Greki struggling, does still have the Divine Shield. Sam taking a bit of damage. I'm not sure if that was a safeguard or just an ice barrier. It's hard to tell, both of them. Such big absorbs for the mage here. Trill taking a little bit of damage as well, but should be just fine. Both of these classes so good at kiting something like a Death Knight that is less mobile. Despite the chains of ice, both of them able to get away. Seedo on the Paladin helping them out even on this small map. Mana slightly in favor of Method Orange. They should be pushing for crowd control though. I feel like if they can just get any crowd controls onto Greki, he is running that Relentless talent. They could easily force out the Divine Shield. They're not playing that aggressively, and I think part of that is the damage coming in onto Seedo. Safeguard comes out. He doesn't want to trade out the Divine Shield. This is actually looking not that bad for the boys.
The boys battling back here. It's match point. They could just advance and slap Method Orange down to the lower bracket, and that would be a lot of stress on them. There's potential for the move to have some success, although it's, I'd say, a 1% chance, but it's still a chance. And if the move even have 1%, they could pull off miracles. Method Orange would like to avoid that. If they could beat the boys, they've just automatically qualified to Summer Finals. There's no chance of a tiebreaker. So if they want to avoid that extra added stress in the lower bracket, knowing that they're facing Get Your Boy Dog, which is running that Rogue Mage Druid, a composition that has been giving them a tough time, it would be a lot better for them to just avoid it altogether. This is supposed to be their comp advantage, their map pick. If they end up losing on it, it's not looking too good for them overall in terms of their matchup with the boys towards the end of the summer season. Currently, they've got a significant mana lead. However, Greki's Avenging Crusader is up, Touch of Death available. Chun-Li could make a big push here for an Ice Block shortly, comboed with that Serenity. Seedo is still crowd controlled. Serenity's going to get popped. They're immediately getting that Gladiator Safeguard, but now Chun-Li on the back foot, caught into a leg sweep. He did pre-diffuse magic, may not be enough. Touch of Death active from Trill. Greki responds, trading out Sacrifice to redirect its damage. I would almost like to see maybe Method Orange make a swap to him, but they're the ones who are behind. Seedo getting swapped to by the boys. Divine Shield forced out from him. Beautiful opportunity seized by the boys.
Yeah, I feel like Chun-Li suddenly has the harder time in this matchup. He has to deal with Frost Mage slows. He has to deal with the fact that his Touch of Karma could be potentially immuned by Seedo at some point in this match. So his big defensive cooldown could become a vulnerability at some point. We see the Touch being used now. No Blessing and Protection to answer. Seedo actually in a little bit of trouble here. He did trade out the Divine Shield. Maybe he could die. He's doing a good job kiting away, I think, for Method Orange. Now it's just going to be a case of Seedo. If he can play safe on that Paladin, they should be able to win this game. Greki's low on mana, Greki's low on cooldowns, but they're going for the all-in. Trinket Force, can they get the kill? Safeguard comes in, as does the Avenging Crusader. Huge healing available. Chun-Li on the back end. That was perfect play from Seedo. He's low on cooldowns though, so if Method Orange don't find the kill, they could lose the match.
You may be wondering, the Avenging Crusader icon below both the Paladin's frames periodically glowing before its cooldown has run out. That is the Essence Vision of Perfection, which grants a chance on their heals to proc the Avenging Crusader, which can add in a huge amount of damage and recovery to both teams. This Essence is what makes Holy Paladin so potent in the meta. Certainly if you're playing at home, you're going to want to be doing Mechagon and getting your hands on that Essence as soon as possible. It's a lot of fun to play with as well. Currently Greki in crowd control, Chun-Li isolated, but this is a situation that he has been accustomed to. He's going to use Ring of Peace to prevent Trill's Fist of Fury from hitting him, beautifully isolating himself along with Greki to recover. Now Fist of Fury of his own to parry Trill's attacks. Once again, Chun-Li's experience in the 1-versus-1 situations paying off.
Yeah, it definitely is. Both these Windwalkers have been going at it, but Chun-Li has been looking pretty good. Mana in favor of Seedo, though, like I said, Method Orange, if they can just kind of dampen the game out a little bit, play safe, even Chun-Li's excellent defense is going to be a tough one to ask. We see an overlap from Greki and Chun-Li. Mistake there, Touch of Death, or Touch of Karma, sorry, with the Hand of Sacrifice. And guess what? Touch of Death is available for Trill. They should be able to land the kill momentarily here with one more connection. Beautiful double stun coming in from Trill. They're looking to close the match here, Sid.
This should be it. Blinding Light secured by Seedo. Chun-Li again in a 1-versus-3, dropping the Ring of Peace, but ultimately will fall. Method Orange taking their map pick, their comp advantage, but now moving to game 5 in the blind pick. what do they do? What do they have confidence in locking blind? The boys, they seem to have an answer for everything.
Yeah, it's certainly fitting that this would go to Game 5. The boys and Method Orange, they have been top-notch contenders in the North American side of the brackets here, and they have gone back and forth. You know, we saw the boys winning, then Method Orange improvised a little bit. They are still seeing success on this Holy Paladin Mage, so I would be surprised to see them not lock that in Game 5.
Yeah, I think it's the best comp that they have, and it all depends a little bit on what map there is going to be selected by the boys as well, but I feel like even on the smaller maps, you just lock this in and you have a decent chance at least against everything. There might be some things that the boys can run that are going to give you a hard time, but overall, this feels like the most convincing comp from Method Orange. Sam I Am looked great in this game, dealing out so much pressure, was never really, you know, a real target for the boys. It was all about going after Sea-Doo, and Sea-Doo dealt with it nicely as well. And then eventually they just were able to win this game on mana, essentially. That one overlap as well with the Hand of Sack and the Touch of Karma. That was the big turning point as well. And here, it's kind of just clean up. Everyone is stacked up. Nice leg sweep from Trill. Nice blind from Sea-Doo. And then at this point, Touch of Death is on Chun-Li. You know, the map is small. There's nowhere to run. There's no mana left. Just out attrition at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the win condition of Method Orange, right? Like, this is the matchup that would favor them. I think the Paladin from Greki did look pretty good. They found almost a kill on Sea-Doo, but I want to ask you, Sid, because obviously at the very start of the day, we talked about our MVPs, our best healers, and you put Rubcub because of his excellent play on the Paladin. Do you think he's kind of almost inspired this meta? Because now we're actually seeing a lot of people playing the Paladin as their pick.
I think he always has. I feel like he was, because he's mained it, and that's just what he plays first of all. It's what he does all his research on, and he prepares, and then everybody else tries to follow him, realizing, oh, wait, this is actually a thing. Maybe we should have this on our team as well. So in this case, maybe Sea-Doo wasn't totally following. It seemed like he was also on curve with it, bringing in the Paladin, Windwalker, Death Knight to try and win the mirror matchup. So Rubcub not trailblazing in that sense, but certainly he's been the aggressive Paladin for, I mean, how long has it been now? I feel like since World
Very long time,
Draenor,
He was at BlizzCon Finals, what was it, 2 years ago now?
Panda
playing
Global,
with Rosita Jones as well.
Panda Global. I'm trying to remember.
He's been at it for a long time, I think it's fair to say. Rubcub is a staple when it comes to North American Holy Paladins, but how have these other two Paladins weighed up for you so far from what you've seen?
I mean, I think Sea-Doo is catching up pretty quickly. It's the first time we see Greki on the Paladin. He's been playing a lot of Druid and looked great on it. It looks like a fairly challenging matchup. There's just a lot of crowd control available for you, and if you can't avoid it, you're just kind of left in it, and you don't have any heal over time effects on the Paladin. You don't have any way to recover when you're crowd controlled, so you burn a significant cooldown every time, and then you just kind of run out of that space. Whereas Sea-Doo with the Mage can buy time with Polymorph, Temporal Shield. The Mage is a lot more durable on their own, and can also protect the Windwalker with Polymorph. So it's just a safer composition overall. I think it's easier to heal on the Paladin than the Windwalker Death Knight in this specific matchup. But now on Tolvaron, if you're Method Orange, if you blind lock Windwalker Mage Paladin, what do you think the boys pick?
Yeah, I mean, that's very interesting to see. That's honestly what we've been asking the entire series, right? It's like, we just want to see them blind pick it so we can see what this counter composition coming in from the boys will be. And this is a problem that the boys have had the entire year. I feel like all four of the European rosters, including Wildcard Gaming, that have been running it, have been running that Mage. Method Orange here, they lose a couple of the Cleave v Cleave matchups, but they're able to bring in Sam I Am, and he looks great.
I think that's one of the problems with running a Holy Paladin Cleave, is the fact that Method Orange do have Sam I Am, and Mage is really effective against the Holy Paladin. Spell Steal, you can remove Blessing of Freedom, you can remove Blessing of Protection, and it just kind of nullifies a lot of the added benefit you get with that Holy Paladin, whereas for the boys, they don't have that as an option. When Blessing of Freedom comes in, guess what? Sam I Am, he's going to be able to escape, or Trill's going to be able to escape. The Blessing of Protection, it's going to sit full. They're going to be able to have that as a safety net, and the boys, unfortunately, going into the Mage, they don't have that available.
Yep.
I would say these two teams sort of weigh up quite evenly. The one major difference is Thugonomics is a Warlock, and Method Orange, they have the Mage, and that really is the main difference. And I feel like overall the Mage has been a little bit more strong in this meta throughout this entire year. Of course, the Destruction Warlock also is quite good and has been good. I mean, obviously, Chanimal won the spring finals with it, but I feel like with the boys roster, it's not being utilized to sort of its max potential, and it's fallen off just a little bit, and I think that's why Method Orange has been starting to get the better end of the boys.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels that way, right? Like, the boys are the only team going to the summer finals without a Mage, so if you're a fan of these kind of non-Mage teams, then the boys is the team for you. They've been holding it down. Thugonomics has been a legendary Destruction Warlock for such a long time. Method Orange, once again, they are afraid way to lock in the mage. They do have Sea-Doo sticking to the Paladin here, but, I mean, you know, Gurecki goes over to the Paladin. It's going to be the same melees. Good chance there's going to be the same outcome in Game 5 in favor of the boys.
Yeah, well, that seems to be the logic that the boys are going with here. They think, okay, well, if we pick Druid into the Pally, maybe we can get overwhelmed. Maybe, you know, they get that little bit of damage that they're missing. But if we lock the same comp and we have a Pally as well, then it kind of nullifies that. So we'll see if that works out. The Paladin can certainly also become a target. So I'm not sure how it's going to end up, but it's kind of interesting to see that it's going to come down to a Holy Paladin, melee Cleave
really battle,
on the biggest
The evolution
map.
between these two teams has been so interesting to follow.
Yeah, that's what I was saying at the beginning. Before this match even started, it really has been sort of a meta between these two teams where it seemed like Method Orange really started pulling ahead with the Holy Paladin pick.
Yep.
Now, I mean, I even played against Gurecki yesterday. They have been practicing and preparing the Holy Paladin quite a bit. Gurecki kind of realizing, hey, this is a great tool that we can use. We know Gurecki also plays the Mistweaver monk, but this seems like Holy Paladin is really strong. I mean, Blessing of Freedom, Blessing of Protection, the Vision of Perfections, Avenging Wrath, the Avenging Crusader. It's just a lot of healing, a lot of extra damage, a lot more aggression that they can throw out. And I kind of, what's interesting to me about this pick right now is the blind pick. Like, if both teams kind of think the Holy Paladin is so advantaged, I'm surprised both of them led with the Resto Druid in game number 1.
Yeah, that is very interesting, actually. I think for Method Orange especially so, and we commented on that, right? We were like, well, they won last week running the Holy Paladin version of this comp. It's surprising to see them not lock it in. Ultimately, that is where we're going to go. And I think one of the other things is that the boys must feel like they have an advantage here, Sid, because they could have very confidently locked in a mirror, and instead they are choosing this Arms Warrior once again.
Why didn't they go Druid Arms?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's Toveron. You drink for free.
Maybe they're afraid of it
doesn't
all
really
in.
come down to drinks, though.
Really?
Like, we didn't see
all
that
in on the
last
Druid could
game.
be scary.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't want to play against Holy Paladins. They're just such a nuisance when you're playing Druid because you're so scared, like that DR stun, the additional, you know, potential 40k judgments hitting you. It is a lot of damage, it is a lot of threat. Ultimately, both teams are going to have the access to that. I'm very scared for both of these Windwalkers because with the Hand of Protections available, Touch of Karma is not going to be something you can rely on. This game could be sharp and it could be over fast.
Yeah, I mean, the Sharpened Blade is devastating for Smexin, but Gurecki, he gets caught into an asphyxiate stun. They're looking like they actually are going to be going after Smexin. And like I said, Trill normally is a really durable target, but if he gets shut down on his Turbo Fist, Fists of Fury, he's going to be able to get bursted down quite quickly. Ultimate Sacrifice trades out. Trill looking to get very aggressive with his Touch of Death early on. Both teams coming out swinging in the early stages of the game.
I would say Gurecki is infinitely more behind in this position, having to use his Stun Breaker now as well. I mean, if you're afraid of getting all in on Druid, I feel like Paladin is also fully capable of being all in as well. Gurecki manages to stabilize throughout that initial assault. Not totally empty on cooldowns at least, but Method Orange are significantly ahead.
Yeah, Method Orange doing a good job in this situation. Trill now dropping a little bit low here, has to use his Touch of Karma. Will we see a Blessing of Protection? We will onto Smex and Trill porting to safety. Mez now in a little bit of trouble as well, but Mez is the most durable target on Method Orange. He's essentially the guy that you want them to hit. So now we're going to see another attack launched by Method Orange. Sea-Doo is running the Blinding Light. He connects it onto Gurecki. Doesn't have a Hammer of Justice to follow it up just yet, though. And we did see the double leg sweep come out there. But Trill is the one losing out on this exchange. Sharpened Blade smacks in, looking for big damage here, Adrian.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sold on the Blinding Light in this specific matchup, but Trill is in so much trouble. Blessing Protection comes in to defend him. The Arms Warrior and the Windwalker just seem so potent at killing Trill on that Windwalker. As Venruki was saying, you know, you got the Stormbolt for the Fist of Fury, you got all the charge stuns, the Sharpened Blade, so many tools to kill Trill. We see a Divine Shield forced out now as well. The boys, you know, they had a bad start. Gurecki had to overlap his Blessing Protection and his Hand of Sacrifice because he underreacted at the very start of this game, but he has a huge lead now, still holding onto that Divine Shield, and Method Orange are suddenly behind in Game 5.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems that way. This is looking like a repeat of game number 1, where the Arms Warrior really does have the advantage, but Smexin's still a little bit vulnerable here. Gurecki having to trade out big heals and cooldowns in order to keep him alive, and the damage is unrelenting. Smexin just not getting topped off. This could be the die by the sword. We'll have to wait and see. Gurecki kind of sitting on that Avenging Wrath right now, waiting to trade it out. Mana even for both these healers as the boys make a swap over onto Sea-Doo. Sea-Doo really struggling. Blessing of Freedom, Divine Steed allow him to escape behind the pillar, but now Trill and Mez still a little bit vulnerable in the situation.
I'm wondering what happens here. Paladin Mirror, Game 5, Cleaves showdown. who is the zuggiest of them all in Game 5. Method Orange could qualify to the Summer Finals, guaranteed, if they win this one match. Otherwise, they'll have to battle out in the lower bracket, and there's a chance that Get Your Boy Dog can make a tiebreaker situation with the move. It's looking likely. Sea-Doo's in trouble. He's looking to try and retreat, but at the same time, it's a tactical one. He crowd controls Gorecki on his way, getting the Divine Shield, but he doesn't have that as an answer. His Gladiator Safeguard going to proc, managing to get around the corner, but Chun-Li holds him in place with Paralysis. Gorecki, is he going to move in for the Hammer of Justice? No, Smexen with the intimidating shout. Trill makes the trade with the Touch of Karma, but Smexen doesn't care. He's going to go after Sea-Doo. Blessing of Protection forced onto Sea-Doo. Now he gets crowd control. Smexen in trouble in the reversal. Die by the sword at very low health. He's got to make sure he's facing his target to parry those attacks. Does look like he's going to survive with the Gladiator Safeguard. Gorecki now with the Avenging Crusader active. He's going to be doing a lot of extra damage that Sea-Doo needs to heal through. Gorecki top of the team. Trill lands a double stun to try and stall, but Sea-Doo is still stunned up, deciding to break out. Use the ultimate sacrifice. Chun-Li switching to Sea-Doo with that sacrifice damage, but Smexen is still on the back foot. How is Smexen going to get out of this one, Zico?
Yeah, so much damage onto Smexen right now. He doesn't have his Die by the Sword, and Method Orange are actually clawing their way back into this game. Smexen's still in big trouble. Chun-Li connects a nice triple leg sweep, but it was the actually trinketed by Maz. Big damage on Smexen still. Gorecki with that Divine Favor is going to be able to get him to a reasonable amount of HP. Chun-Li trying to turn the tides here of this fight, but Smexen could be the one that falls ultimately. So low on HP. Trill is gunning for it. Mez gets disarmed, but the spinning crane kick with the whirling dragon punches could just be too much for Smexen to handle here.
Yeah, and Smexen's going to fall. That is going to be game, set, and match in favor of Method Orange. The Cleave versus the Cleave, the Holy Paladin. Certainly Sea-Doo seems to have this class down. They do guarantee themselves qualification to the Summer Finals, meaning that the move can no longer qualify. They can no longer go to BlizzCon.
And that's got to be, heartbreaking for them as well as all their fans, unfortunately. But for Method Orange, they have to be feeling pretty good at this point. They've guaranteed their spot at the Summer Finals. Things are looking really good for them, and we'll have to see how the rest of the tournament plays out. I mean, at this point, who else is in the upper bracket with them? I guess
M2KC and Cloud9, that's our next series. So
I'm curious to see who comes out ahead on that, and if Method Orange once again can, best Cloud9. If Cloud9 does manage, to beat M2KC, and they can beat Cloud9 again, I feel like Method Orange, they're on a tear at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Method Orange is certainly in a good situation. If they have the Rogue Mage down, like if they can win that matchup, they could do really well at the Summer Finals.
Yeah, it seems like they have an answer to the Cleaves. They have an answer to Rogue Mage. We just don't know yet if it's going to be good enough for them, but Method Orange, they're going to be going up against a lot of Rogue Mage, so they really need to make sure that their Windwalker DK Shaman is, winning all of those games. But here, Smexen in these final seconds just trying to kite on that warrior, but really getting abused because he doesn't have that same self-healing as a DK or a Windwalker. So I kind of like the adaptation here from Method Orange. Have Sea-Doo just go completely, aggressive, and then just try to turn the pressure onto Smexen. If Smexen is left alone, he's going to just be dealing devastation. So you can deal with him by just making sure that he's defensive, and it worked out for them.
Yeah, it worked out really well. Sea-Doo has looked really good on this Holy Paladin. I'm super happy to see that he has picked that one up. And the rest of this bracket, there's a good chance it's going to have a lot of Rogue Mage in it for them, because the next series is Cloud9 versus M2KC.